Hey everyone, thank you for watching In a Flash right here on superpoweredpop.webs.com. That's superpoweredpop.webs.com. You can check us out as well on facebook.com/superpoweredpop and on Twitter at superpoweredpop. So happy to have you here for In a Flash, the video series where we talk about the Flash TV show and all that is of the Flash. So obviously this episode is about Infantino Street. Infantino Street is obviously a very tough subject for all characters of the Flash and what went on and what occurred. And really this whole season, or a lot of the season, has been about trying to save Iris West, trying to find a way to keep her alive, to keep Barry and their love together, to keep her on this earth, and obviously to keep her with those that love her so much, to keep her with Team Flash. From Cisco to Caitlin to obviously Joe, her father, to Wally, her brother, to Barry, her love interest, and so on and so forth. And, HR, I mean, you look at all the relationships that Iris has formed, and you see how she's really been a piece of every single bit of this. And some people say that they don't like the romantic side of it. They just want to see the hero fight the villain every episode. They want to see the Flash fight Reverse Flash, the Flash fight Zoom, the Flash fight Savitar. Why does he have to have a love interest? Why does Iris have to be in there? But you know what? That's what makes these characters vulnerable. That's what makes these characters relatable. That's what makes them real, that they have love, that they have pain, that they have tears, that they have joy, that they have laughter, that they have strife, that they have sorrow, that they go through these emotions that we go through as people. So, essentially, when you watch this, how could you not have an Iris West? How could you not have, these relationships going on? How could Barry just go through life just being a superhero and having no connection? So, to me, it's vital, and to me, it's very important. So we know in Infantino Street starts off with, 1203, which is the time that Iris is killed on Infantino Street. And obviously we know of this because Barry traveled through time, accidentally went into the future when he went through the Speed Force and saw Iris die. So Iris obviously has this connection to Barry, this deep connection to Barry. They grew up together. He's had feelings for her for a long time. He watched her with Thawne. He watched her almost get married to him, almost move on, and ultimately he dated, she dated, and they found each other here in season 3. So this connection and this romance and this opportunity is obviously held up by the fact that she is supposed to die. But Barry said, listen, we have changed things through time. So he travels through time and says, okay, what's supposed to happen here? What's supposed to happen there? Let's go through, let's fix this, let's change this. Instead of me doing it, Cisco, you save the day. Or Wally, you make this happen. Or maybe we let this go and then we go after this instead. Or maybe we capture this person, but we do it this way. And he was hoping that this would change the tides of time, and ultimately it didn't. We were going through time right to this moment. As many things as Barry has changed, the one thing that he could not change was the death of Iris West. And, that's the heartbreaking piece of this, is the one thing Barry couldn't change, is the one thing that he would want to change more than everything outside of his father dying and his mother dying. And we know that Barry created this whole flashpoint when he went back and saved his mother, so then his father doesn't end up dying. They are together. They're a family. He stays in this for a certain amount of time, but leaves before he loses all of his memories. When he comes back, he's created Flashpoint. He was there too long. He's essentially created this alternate reality that's become reality for everyone. And so Savitar is created. Alchemy is created. Wally ends up getting his powers through alchemy. All of these things start happening. Iris, we find out, is going to die. Killer Frost is constantly calling to Caitlin Snow. So, obviously Flashpoint changed a lot of things to get us to where we are today. So we look at this relationship with Barry and Iris, and Barry doesn't want to believe it. Barry wants to believe that he can save Iris. Iris has essentially accepted her destiny. She's come to a point where she's just kind of realized, as when she did the video for Barry saying, I need to tell you something, which is extremely, extremely sad when he's running in that moment of the, when you see him going in slow motion and he has that moment where he's like, no, and you see him running toward her and not being fast enough. This is where we hear her video. We hear the words that she says to Barry. And, basically she says that she takes him to be her husband. And, it's a really sad moment. She tells him, hey, do whatever you got to do to save me, but don't lose yourself. Don't get to a point where you lose yourself. And we see that he doesn't. We see that he goes back in time, which he wasn't supposed to do. He goes back in time and he gets Snart. He gets, Captain Cold, brings Captain Cold back, goes into Argus and eventually gets inside of where he needs to get to, gets this piece that he needs to go after, but, obviously King Shark is there and not losing himself, okay? So he beats up a bunch of guards when he goes to Argus, and then after that, he has the opportunity to leave Snart. So he beats up the guards, which isn't a Barry Allen type of thing to do, but then he has the opportunity to leave Snart. He doesn't leave Snart, which ultimately, when him and Snart are found out, after they get this, after they defeat King Shark, so to speak, they get to this opportunity of moving on, of getting back to Iris. And they get stopped, obviously, by Argus, and the statement is, I'll do anything to save Iris. And the statement back is, no, you wouldn't, because I saw that you saved Snart. You didn't leave him here, and that's why I'm going to give this to you. So they bring it back for the gun that is supposed to be created by Tracy Brand, which is created in the future. So it's supposed to be created. They're trying to do it ahead of time so she can use this thing and use all the power of what they stole from Argus to save the day and obviously make sure that Iris stays alive. So Tracy's working on it with HR, and they want to create this entire plan. Well, in the meantime, this time remnant, who is Barry, but a time remnant of Barry, is Savitar. We had found that out beforehand, and this Savitar character, essentially, he creates this world where he believes, listen, I'm going to be born. I need to break Barry down. I need to be the one that exists. I was this time remnant that was used to kill Zoom, and then I just went away. I was a disposable piece. I was this time remnant that never existed, that never mattered. Yet he is Barry Allen, and he has all of Barry's memories and all Barry's thoughts. So he knew that Captain Cold was working with Barry, and he said, let him do it. And he says, don't worry about it. And we find out later on why that is. But before we go there, obviously, he goes back, and after they have what they need to make this gun to trap Savitar, Savitar goes back wearing the Flash costume, doesn't show the other side of his face, says, where's Iris? They say she's safely on Earth 2 with Harrison Wells. So there he goes. HR gave it up. So HR gives up the other Harrison Wells. So obviously this time remnant goes to Earth 2, takes Iris after Wally tries to defeat the time remnant and has his leg broken. We know he's going to heal. We know that the speed in his molecules, we know that he'll get better, but not in less than 3 hours time, which is what they need. And in the meantime, Killer Frost seems like she's having second thoughts as Caitlin Snow, speaking on what's going on and saying, look at Barry and Caitlin together again. The time remnant says, listen, I'm not Barry. And so she sticks with this plan. She goes and obviously vibes. Cisco he vibes this moment that he kept trying to keep away, which was him ultimately going up against Caitlin, who's Killer Frost. So they meet each other. So Cisco essentially is out of commission. Vibe is fighting Killer Frost, so he's not there to help Barry. Barry goes with this gun created by Tracy Brand, and it looks like it's working. Savitar lets you believe it's working, and then it breaks away, and Savitar says, listen, that Philosopher's Stone that you threw in gave me everything I needed. This speed force that's inside of this thing, I figured out how to. He's like, I've been trapped for eternity. So obviously, when you changed everything and you threw the Philosopher's Stone, when you threw that stone and you ended up in the future and all these things happen, so on and so forth, you gave me what I needed to defeat what you had put me in. So Barry essentially changed everything for the worse, and ultimately he's running at the end in slow motion toward Iris, which is something that we watched over and over and over again this season, and ultimately Iris passes away. She gets stabbed, he doesn't get there fast enough. The question is, what's going to happen to Joe? What's going to happen to Wally? I mean, Wally's going to blame himself that he wasn't there to help out Barry, because Barry said, another way of changing history, he said, you're going to save Iris, not me. So Wally's out of commission, so Wally's going to blame himself. Joe's going to blame himself that he should have took a shot. HR is going to blame himself because he's the one that told the Time Remnant, who is dressed up as Barry, where they were stashing away Iris on Earth 2 with Harrison Wells. So you got HR blaming himself, you have Wally blaming himself, you have Joe blaming himself, and then, you might have a little bit of Cisco blaming himself. Why did I go fight Caitlin? Why did I go do this? Caitlin eventually somehow could snap out of this, blame herself for everything, and of course Barry's going to blame himself, and it ends with us seeing him holding Iris and screaming, and so it begs the question of what should Barry do. Now, when Barry lost his mother, which started everything, that Barry loses his mother, eventually becomes the Flash, he goes back and he saves her. That changes things. Can't save your dad because that would change things. He's already created Flashpoint, but it stands to reason that he could not continue to screw things up, but essentially figure out a way to stop all these parallel timelines and erase Flashpoint and somehow go all the way back to the beginning and make things right. Do I think that he should go back and change time to save Iris? I do. Okay, I do. You're not going to stop me from believing that. That's what I believe. I think he should do that. I think it's worth it. Now, yes, it could change everything. Wally could end up dead. Anybody could end up dead. Cisco could end up dead. Caitlin could be fine. I mean, you think about it. If things change, then we could have Vibe be bad, but Killer Frost would be Caitlin again. Maybe we never meet HR. Then, what happens with this Philosopher's Stone? And essentially, maybe if he goes back and he finds the Philosopher's Stone, maybe that will help him to right everything, is to go back to the moment that he threw it and don't throw it and see what happens from there and then go back in time. But, essentially, Barry can run to the future. He can run to the past. He can run all over the place. He can run in and out of things. I mean, that Barry essentially can go all over the place. He can go to different Earths. He could go back to the past. He could go forward to the future. I mean, Barry, I think the whole team is going to come together and try and figure out a way to make this thing right. That Cisco and Joe and Barry, because Barry's seen what life becomes if he goes inward, if he gets depressed. He sees what life has become with Wally, and he doesn't want that to happen with Joe, and he doesn't want that to happen with Cisco, with everybody. So, essentially, Barry has to make right, but if Barry runs back, then HR might not have Tracy. There's a lot of things that can mess things up. So it's that big conundrum of, should you go back and change it? But this is something that's been believed for a long time, and it's something that, was in a movie, A Sound of Thunder, where if you go back and step on one butterfly in prehistoric times, then Abraham Lincoln doesn't get shot in the head. I mean, and people become different creatures and they evolve over time. I mean, one different thing could change everything. So Barry could screw it up even worse, or Barry could make it better, but there has to be a way. And, ultimately, I want him to save Iris, okay? I am a sap. I'm a romantic. I don't think he'll be the same without Iris, so I want him to save Iris. Let me know what you want to do. What did you think about Infantino Street? Did you like the episode? Did you cry during the episode? What do you think of Savitar? What do you think that Savitar is Barry, but a time remnant of Barry? So it's not Barry Allen. It's this, essentially it's like Barry had a twin and the twin was thrown in the garbage, or the twin was sent off somewhere. I mean, this is the undesired child, so to speak. So it has all of Barry's memories, but it's not Barry Allen. And, Savitar, I want to know where he created this tech and where he got all of this and who helped him to design this and make this. But, ultimately, the question is, what should Barry do? And I want you to answer it. So feel free to comment below. Thank you for watching In a Flash, brought to you by Superpowered Pop. Check out superpoweredpop.webs.com, as well as facebook.com/superpoweredpop, and on Twitter @superpoweredpop. In the meantime, my Flash friends, I will talk with you all soon, and I thank you so much for being a part of today's show.